Hoi hoi! It's louisity again, and for this reading vlog, we are going to read The Burning Maze by Rick Riordan. Hoorah! So, as you can see from my June 2025 TBR video, you know, fate had it. Like, it was like really close, fate really wanted me to read or like progress or succeed with the Trials of Apollo series quickly. And I didn't expect that it was going to be this rapid that I'll be reading like the books within the series. Like, oh my goodness, like usually when I get to start reading a book in a series, it would take me like months or even like a year or like year and months or maybe even years before I hop into the next one. But fate just lets me, make me finish. Like I was like thinking like I might be able to finish the Trials of Apollo series in 2025. So we'll see if that's gonna happen. But yeah, I'm excited to read this, and definitely Dark Prophecy was fine. It was pretty good. Um, and definitely with this one, with the word like maze, I was thinking about the labyrinth. I'm wondering if we're going to be getting like the same vibes as we get to see Apollo's like journey of looking for the oracles, and will the labyrinth be a part of this one? It's like that's what I was just like thinking all this time. If the labyrinth is going to be a part of it, so yeah, and definitely so far, like I said with like my other reading vlogs, Trials of Apollo has like a different like vibe. Although you can see some remnants of Rick Riordan's works in the Percy Jackson series and Heroes of the Olympus series, because they're kind of like set in the same world. But yeah, and the reason why I'm just like kind of saying this is I'm like still contemplating about reading like the King of Chronicles series soon. So feel free to comment that down below. But without further ado, let us head on to reading The Burning Maze by Rick Riordan, which is book 3 of the Trials of Apollo series. So I'll catch folks later. Whoa. So I'm nearly 100 pages in The Burning Maze by Rick Riordan, and I have to say that I'm having a good time so far. Now, the characterization of Grover is fantastic. Not only that, it was nostalgic, but also like how the scenes or the things that were happening here were vividly like depicted. And it's like there's nothing blocking me from the narrative, what's happening to the satyrs. We get to see Coach Hedge again, conquering some, robots, some automatons, and trying to put them under their control. Ooh. And I knew it, I was right, the labyrinth, which kind of gives me a flashback of book 4 in the Percy Jackson The Olympian series, The Battle of the Labyrinth. And it's really wonderful how some of the people are being revisited, but you kind of get some fresh takes out of it. Also, like I said, the labyrinth, the automatons, the emperor Caesar, or Caligula, if I got his name correctly. Yeah, and getting to discover about him. We got to see Apollo's mortality, transcending. And yes, it's just, really fascinating. We get to also see here where they talk about reaching the McLeans, And the thing about like Apollo's thought process in this book, it's not, something that kind of like that comes across as a distraction. There's something about it that you're more invested in, and it makes sense. It's not too like rambly anymore, which I'm kind of liking as a narrative. It kind of like for some reason it makes sense towards the overall narrative. So that's like the great thing so far. It's just that the glow or like the charm that the other series had is being like showcased so far in this book, which I'm liking. And what else can I say? Yeah, so far I'm definitely excited about what's going to happen next. There's so many adventures that they're taking, and I'm just thrilled. I'm just excited about what's going to happen next. So just to recap, they were going through the labyrinth. They were dealing with this sort of bird creatures, trying to, and like you cannot kill them, otherwise he'll be cursed. And then they get to reach, like, I believe it's Southern California. Like, I can, vividly see, like the Joshua Tree, like area, in California. Like, I've seen it online. I haven't been there, of course. I'm from the Philippines, so yeah, which is really, like, it is kind of dark because of the labyrinth, but it's kind of like bright and sunny when they reach like Southern California, and does mention about like the the calamities that are happening, the forest fires, how it is linked to like the oracle that they're looking for. And it's just like the way that the adventures were depicted were very like intense, and they were depicted vividly, so I was invested in the narrative. So yeah, I guess I'll catch folks later. Whoa. And if I said Caligula in the previous clip, I meant Caligula. Here's a reading update for The Burning Maze by Rick Riordan. And the first thing that like struck me like after the last update would be the breakup of Piper and Jason. I felt so sad because I was like, when I read like the Heroes of the Olympus series, I thought that they would like flourish and grow, like their relationship specifically. But yeah, that was sad. And Meg's characterization is still on point. She's still very like witty and very funny, and I love that scene where Meg just hugged Piper. Like Piper's charm speak was used in order to be more, empathetic with other like people. That was like really brilliantly done. And what else can I say? I couldn't help but like it made me think about Moi Moi Lumboy, just because of like how the gods behave in this series. And Apollo's characterization is still like annoying, which, by the way, if you are very character driven, be warned that that could be like evident in like some of the scenes here, and that may like push you back if you're looking for like lovely characters. But in terms of characterization, I'd have to say that it was effectively done. So, and the stakes are getting higher. Their adventures in California and Southern California are getting more intense. It brings me back to my reading experiences of The Lost Hero and The Son of Neptune. More like kind of like The Son of Neptune, but because The Son of Neptune is more focused on like the North Pole. I remember like it was set a lot like in Alaska and British Columbia and Canada. Of course, Alaska is part of the U.S. But yeah, I just said that just to clarify. But in this case, for the Burning Maze, like the warmer ones. And honestly, I also had like the same question with Meg. Like, how come Demeter like never appeared in her life? Like, why doesn't she appear? So yeah, And Meg reminds me, like basically her characteristics remind me of a grass type Pokemon. I know that's kind of like, that's a very interesting comparison, I guess. But I'm definitely like curious about how they're going to be retrieving the shoes of Emperor Caligula. Hopefully, I got that right now. And we'll see how their adventures heading to the Burning Maze, will be. So we'll see how the events will transpire. I'm definitely like eager. I'm kind of invested with the narrative. For some reason, I can connect with the narrative for book three more compared to like the previous couple of books in the Trials of Apollo series, which is a good thing. We would rather, if not like consistently amazing, but like an upward kind of like trend when it comes to reading books in the series. So yeah, a lot of things to contemplate. The prophecy that Jason heard from Sybil was revealed, and we'll see if there will be some twists and turns, or will things be, exactly what they're going to be portrayed. And to Jason and Piper fans out there, I don't know what their ship name is called, Japer or Python. Oh, that sounds like poison though. If you're one of them, be warned. Yes, but I'm still in the middle of the story, so I don't know if it's going to change, but there is that part. So yeah, I'm warning you now. It might break your heart, okay? You've been warned. So I'll catch you folks later. Quote. So I read more than 300 pages of The Burning Maze by Rick Riordan. Have to say that I felt like I was watching a movie. How it's really action-packed and how they depicted the scenes, where you can feel the intensity of like the battles. And I really love that part where, Piper used her talent in singing as a weapon. Piper and Apollo's talents in music were used as a weapon throughout like the, them in the Santa Barbara Harbor. And that was really genius. That was really creatively and vividly done. And I was just seated about what's going to happen next. And I was like, oh my goodness, like that was a creative way to like face your enemies, like not necessarily like charming them solely, but using art, using music as a way to like deal with your opponents. So that was really brilliantly done by Rick. And when they were facing like Caligula, I was just nervous about what's going to happen next. There was something about it that I was thinking like, what is Caligula gonna do with the characters here, with Apollo, with Piper, with Jason, with Meg? Gosh, I was just nervous about it. And there was something about it like that makes me eager to know what's going to happen in the Bay Area, because that's where like Camp Jupiter is. And like the last page that I read somewhere, I believe around page 305, if I got it correctly, 300 something basically. Like I said, I've read more than 300 pages of The Burning Maze by Rick Riordan. Like, I want to confirm that Jason died already, because I am gonna be devastated. I feel devastated about that. So I read around more than 400 pages of The Burning Maze by Rick Riordan, and yes, let's begin first, like with the sad things that happened. It's confirmed Jason died, and Crest, like one of the Pandoys, I believe Pandoys is the term, also died. And when Apollo was like telling him, like his future plans, especially for Crest, I felt like that scene was like in a movie where you tell somebody like, we have all these plans together, we're gonna go to these places and all that stuff, and then they're like dying. It's a sad thing to visualize. And you know what, like, I'm not, as I've said many times in this channel, in my videos, that I'm not really like a character driven kind of like person. However, I think it's because like in this story, what
I guess like with Jason, what um, like the reason why his death like hits me hard is that because I've already seen him like succeed in the Heroes of the Olympus series. Like, he made it, and now he didn't make it, unfortunately. So I don't know if like it's not necessarily that you have like such an attachment to the characters, but there's something about like if they have existed for so long and you can see that they've gotten through challenges. It's not like you really admire them for conquering those challenges, but there's just something about it that's just like I was like processing it in my head, like Jason's death. And yeah. So the Burning Maze was definitely interesting, the way that it was written. I felt like I was also figuring out the words together with Apollo and the crew. I was like, thinking about what they were about to guess. It was like I was in the narrative, which is a good thing in terms of the story. And yeah, I really hope that we saw the maze a little bit more, just a little bit more, but overall it was still pretty fine. And the acrostics, it was like something that, when I read that part, I was like, I didn't even figure it out myself. I think I was like reading it horizontally, and then like Meg said, like it is an acrostic, and that was brilliantly done. That was brilliant because it's like it was unpredictable in its own way. And even if you kind of like figure it out, it's just amazing how it kind of like, stimulated your brain to think, to figure out, which honestly, I'm going to say it now. I'm going to say it right now at this update that I didn't feel like this, compared to like the Hidden Oracle and the Dark Prophecy, which means that, so far I can say, even if I have like few pages left, I'd say that this is definitely like way greater, or it's greater compared to the first two books in the Trials of Apollo series. And the Dryads or Dryads, feel free to comment down below the correct pronunciation. Um, their characterizations were really on point. They were like funny, the whole hail the mag. It was funny yet kind of comforting to watch. It was like a comfort at its own way. I was like smiling, when they were praising Meg. That was just great characterization. So, like I said, I only have like few pages. I believe I have like 13 pages left. So, hopefully I enjoy the last thin part I'm about to read, and hopefully the next clip is going to be like my last update slash overall thoughts about the book, and I'll catch folks later. Whoa. So I just finished reading The Burning Maze by Rick Riordan, and overall I enjoyed my reading experience. And if there are things that I'd like to point out that could be improved, it would have to be that I know that this was discussed in Apollo's like perspective. However, like I just wish that there was a bit more hints, more dialogues about like what exactly happened to our other characters, because we don't get to see like their perspective. So I just hope that for some parts of this novel that they were able to deliver lines about what happened to them. Like for example, like what happened to Meg and Jason when they were going to a different direction, like what really happened. So I was hoping that there were a little bit more lines there. The story might be a little bit longer, but it's okay if it's not going to be that concise, provided that we get to see like other perspectives as well. And there was a little typo in one of like the second to the last chapters. I believe that was second to the last. I saw like he expression, and it stood out to me, but it wasn't really like a huge red flag or anything. But overall, like I felt like I was watching a movie, like I said, like the puzzle games, like the crossword puzzle, like it captivated me. Like I felt like I was also part of the narrative and that I was solving it. So that means that this book is captivating or engaging, which is like a positive thing. And I'm definitely looking forward to like the next book, to the fourth book, which I believe the title is A Tyrant's Tomb. Basically that must be Tarkin's tomb that they're going to be like dealing with in the next book. So definitely looking forward to what's going to happen next. What's going to happen in book 4. I'm excited, but hopefully like I don't get to read it soon, because like I really don't want, like I mean I'm enjoying, but like the separation anxiety. But yeah, well, let's see if I'll be reading book 4 soon, or maybe later on, or maybe even years to come. Well, depending on like my decision through like my want to read or to be read piles, or what, time will tell. Time will tell. So overall, I'm giving this book 4.5 out of 5 stars. Let me know down in the comment section below if you've read this one, and what are your thoughts about The Burning Maze by Rick Riordan, or you've read the previous books in the series of Rick Riordan. Please do not talk about the succeeding books for now, okay? Because upon filming this video, I haven't read them, at least. So yeah, and besides, this is The Burning Maze, so you can talk about like the other like first 2 books. Feel free to do so, and of course definitely for The Burning Maze, but please not The Tyrant's Tomb and Tower of Nero, if I got those titles correctly. So please, yeah, hold your horses, okay? And also, if you haven't read maybe this reading vlog, or even the other reading vlogs about the books in the Trials of Apollo series that I had, motivated you to read the series, and if you've made it this far, leave a desert emoji. So I hope you folks liked this video. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Also click that subscribe button and hit that little bell icon somewhere down there to keep yourselves posted about my videos. And also put down links and handles of my social media accounts, so feel free to check me out and follow me there and support me there as well. As always, thank you so much for watching. Always be thankful and unleash the reader in you. Bye y'all!